Is there in Jagannath Puri. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami, Maya Mukta Jivara Nahi Swata Krishna Gyan. Jivere Kripaya Kola, Krishna Veda Puran, that the living entity won't come out of the material energy on his own. And no one likes to leave their comfort zone, do they? Very difficult to move anyone out of their comfort zone. No one likes change, even if it's a crummy existence. Even if someone has a crummy job, they live in a lousy house, still, they don't like to move on. Everyone likes to stay the same. I garden, and when I lift up rocks, sometimes I find living entities living under there, and I'm so sorry. And then there's, no, leave us alone, we want to stay here under this rock. Everyone has a little rock in this material world, but there's a much bigger world which is full of bliss and knowledge, and Krishna comes to tell us about it. So Lord Chaitanya said, Maya Mukta Jivaranahi Swata Krishna Gyan. It's not swata, it's not automatic that a living entity will come out of the material nature and want to come back to him. Therefore, out of his compassion, his mercy for the fallen souls, Krishna comes as Veda Vyas, Veda Dvaipayana Vyas, and he compiles the Vedas and he makes sure that they're distributed far and wide so people can get sambandha gyan, or knowledge of their relationship with Krishna. It's out of special mercy. So there's a very special form of Krishna, the Shastra deity, that appears in this world in order to enlighten living beings. And if you go around and ask people their stories about how they came to Krishna consciousness, practically invariably you'll find that people have come in contact with these Shastra deities. Someone will say, I was minding my own business and all of a sudden someone came up, gave me a book, or one of my friends handed me a magazine, and when I read it, then it awoke my love for God. And so these Shastra deities are very special manifestations of Krishna's mercy. These books that are coming to us through the succession, and we can't take it for granted either, because they're written on paper and we think, well, there's bookstores everywhere and we can just get books anytime we want, but it's a very rare thing to have these special books like Bhagavad Gita and Sri Upanishad and Srimad Bhagavatam. Previously, books were all written by hand. They're written on palm leaves in India, and it takes a long time to write one book on a palm leaf, doesn't it? Or is it just me? Yes, it does. It takes a long time, and then you have to put it in the sun so it dries, and it's a whole process, and then you only have one book. But somehow, there's some good things about Kali Yuga, this technology, which is very disturbing, actually, everywhere we go. But it has some upside, too. One of them is these little chips, like Tribanga was showing me in his car. It's a little chip this big. He has all the Prabhupada's lectures and songs and everything plugged into his stereo in there. And we can disseminate knowledge very, very quickly around the world through this process. And books are still in vogue. People are reading books, and we have books through the BBT. Prabhupada made an arrangement so that we have these books to read and to distribute. And we'll talk more about his plan for having books, for having us read books, for having us pass on books to many, many other people. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, there's nothing lacking in this world except for Krishna consciousness. Do you agree? I mean, there's so many other things. There's so many comforts and amenities in life, but no one's becoming satisfied by those. So the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is especially meant for increasing Krishna consciousness all over the world. And when we disseminate literature, when we give people an opportunity to read the books, this has a systemic effect on society. And when people read them, they transform, and when they get out there into the mainstream of society, it changes people's minds and hearts and gives them a roadmap how to go back to home, back to Godhead. We met a Russian devotee, actually he's at our temple now, but he got a book some time ago, 2 years ago, and he started reading it. Before he met the devotees, he was chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 regulative principles, and all because he had gotten a book. And these are the great lifelines that we're putting out so that people can come to Krishna. So, there are many ways to distribute books. It's not that you have to go out on the street corner and distribute books, although that's not a bad idea. Anywhere you go, if you take books with you and you think of ways to distribute books, your mind and consciousness will be engaged in a very powerful kind of sadhana. This is the main reason that I think it's important to advocate book distribution. It's because when you go out to distribute books, you get superior strength and knowledge in Krishna consciousness. The difference between walking out the door with nothing in your hand and with a book in your hand is drastic. It's a big difference in consciousness. Once in New York at the Schermerhorn Temple, have any of you been there before? Schermerhorn? Bhagavata Shraya has. It's a big temple there with Radha Govinda in New York City. I gave a seminar there around Ratha Yatra about book distribution, and I was telling the devotees, wherever you go, you should always bring books with you. And I was taking a break from the seminar. It was a 2-day seminar, and I was walking out the door of the temple to have a walk, and I realized I didn't have a book in my pocket. So I was with a friend of mine, Mitrasena Prabhu. I said, Mitrasena, I just told all the devotees, don't leave the building without a book. I can't be a hypocrite, I have to go back. So he said, all right. So I went up the 3 flights of stairs, and I got a Sri Shapanishad, and I came back down, and then we took off on our walk. And we took a right on State Street, and then another right on Union, and just as I was turning the corner on Union Street, there was construction going on, and there was a very large Italian man, about 35 years old, leaning against his truck. He had been working, his clothes were soiled from working hard. They were doing some demolition on some apartments. And he looked at us as we turned the corner. We were wearing dhotis, and he looked at us curiously as we came around the corner, and we were just about 10 feet away from us. And he was looking me in the eye as I turned the corner, and he looks at me as we got close, and he says, "What are you, Buddha?" And what do you say to that? And then I remembered right when he said that, I got a book in my pocket. Because he was inquiring, he wanted to know. In his own New York kind of way, he was asking a sincere question. So I said, no, not exactly, but here, let me show you what this is. And I pulled out the Sri Shapanishad, which explains everything. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Prabhupada in his purport explains how all sense of incompleteness that we have in this world is due to incomplete knowledge of the complete. It's such a perfect book, it's so beautiful, it's so poetical, and just by hearing it you can become perfect. So I pulled out that Sri Shapanishad and I gave it to him, I put it in his hand and I told him a little bit about it, and I told him one mantra from that book. I said, one who always sees all living beings, one who always sees everything in relation to the Lord and sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. This was right after the 9/11 had happened and the World Trade Center had been knocked down, 2 of them. And people in New York City were understandably upset about it. I mean, they felt like anything could happen at any time. They might get bombed, they might get gassed, anything could happen. And they were very nervous and sort of untrusting about life in the material world anymore. And also very suspicious of sectarianism. So when I said, one who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? What a beautiful verse. Completely non-sectarian. He heard those verses and I saw from his eyes and his countenance that he was attracted to this. He recognized, as a soul, he recognized, here's some knowledge. Here's something valuable. And this is an experience for me too. When I'm presenting to this soul, standing there, doing his work, and I presented something straight from the book, as he understood it, I was also gaining knowledge. It's an experience where when you give mercy, you get mercy. When you give knowledge, you also get it for yourself. This is the power of distributing knowledge. You know, in the Krishna book, Prabhupada says a brahmana, or a learned person who doesn't distribute his or her knowledge, is like a pot with a crack in the bottom. The water just runs out. But when you give and give and give, then you grow. The best way to learn is to teach others. And there's something intangible when you distribute this kind of knowledge to other people that grows in your heart and you transform. And it's because it's an activity that's very dear to Krishna and it's very real. And you get to see it for yourself. You get a front row seat to actually see what happens when you distribute real knowledge to another living being. So he offered to give a donation. He climbed up in his truck and he came down and he gave $16 for that book, and we went back to the temple triumphant, and I told everybody the story how I'd come back into the temple to get the book because I had said don't leave without a book. And it opens up so many possibilities when I'm thinking about how to give to others. It changes my perspective of life. Prabhupada was like that. He came to America just with all possibility and opportunity and optimism because he was backed by Krishna. He knew this was an activity under the internal energy. Anybody who surrenders to Krishna and who makes a risk on behalf of Krishna, takes a risk, goes outside their comfort zone, they can also have such an experience. Prabhupada caught the Jaladuta, and I'm thinking I should make a little button that says, where's your Jaladuta? Everyone should find their Jaladuta, shouldn't they? Shouldn't you find an opportunity, a time in life when you say, I'm going to take a risk? You can take a little risk, a medium risk, or a big risk, and Krishna says, Ye yatamam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanavartante manusya partasarvasha. As you take a risk for me, I will reward you accordingly. So you want to take a risk? Do you? Yeah, of course you do. You know, the material world is a risk anyway. Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. Every step you take is a risk here that you're going to, you know, your foot's going to get chopped off or someone will fall on your head. I saw a man in Los Angeles, he bought a Volvo, brand new Volvo. And you know why people buy Volvos? 90% of people buy Volvos, why? Because they're safe. And I saw, this was a tragic accident, but it reminded me that there's no safety in the material world, and that was the brand new Volvo. He was driving at LAX, should be a fairly safe place, so they were doing construction, and a crane broke loose, and it went through the top of his roof and crushed him in his car as he was waiting to pick up a passenger. And Mari Krishna Rakeke, Raki Krishna Marike. There's no, the material world's a risk. Helen Keller, you know, the great philosopher and scholar who was deaf, dumb, and blind. You all know who Helen Keller was. Great personality. And she said, any sense of security in this world is completely illusion. Completely illusion. But, as I said, Mahatmanas tumam parta daivim prakritim ashrita. Ashrita, those great souls are those who take shelter of Krishna. Catch your Jaladuta. Find out where you can, under the authorized instruction of Krishna and the spiritual master, take a risk on their behalf. That's how you make advancement in spiritual life. That is where the real advancement is. And that's why we advocate this preaching, this book distribution. Take a risk. Put yourself out there. Catch a Jaladuta. Whether it's across the street, or across the city, or across the ocean, wherever it is, you have to catch it. And when you do that on behalf of Krishna, he notices you. Don't try to see Krishna. Try to act in such a way that he will see you. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur often would stand at the very back of the temple, any temple he'd go to, and he'd stand by the Garuda Stamba. And sometimes people would say, Maharaj, please go to the front. And he'd say, no, I stand under the Garuda. When the Lord looks, he looks for his devotee, Garuda, and then he'll see me there. And I want to be seen by the Lord. If you want to be seen by the Lord, you take a risk. You take a risk on behalf of Krishna. That's how you advance in devotional service quicker than anything. Otherwise, you can sit around for millions of years, sit in a cave and chant. Krishna might or might not come. But if you take a risk for Krishna's mission, then he comes to you very quickly. So we advocate this preaching. Srila Prabhupada advocated that everyone should take this risk of preaching. And what kind of risk is it? It's pure ecstasy. It's actually fun and easy. And many people have said the hardest thing about going out to distribute books is going out. Once you get out, people don't want to come back. There was a young brahmachari, Bhakta, when I was in Denver, Colorado about 5 years ago. I was taking out a whole group of bhaktas, and one of them was really hesitant about going out. His name was Bhakta Mung, I think. He was from Cambodia or something. I can't remember which country he was from. But he looked like a very mystical monk, you know, because he was from this Asian country, and his head was shaved, and he was wearing saffron. And so we took them all out, and he said, I can't do this, I don't want to do it. So as I was training the others how to distribute books, and the way I was training them was, first I showed them in the temple some easy methods to distribute books, and then I said, each one of you has to get 10 people in a row to tell you no. When you get 10 people in a row that say, no, I'm not interested, then you can come home. None of them got to that level. But this one Bhakta monk, he went way down, about 200 feet away, and 200 yards away, and he sat on a park bench, way down where we were. It's an outside mall. And I kept my eye on him. I was watching as I was helping the other devotees, and then I looked down there and I saw him sitting next to somebody, somebody sitting next to him. And that was going on for some time. So I finally walked down there, and Bhakta monk was smiling so big, and this lady had come along and said, are you a monk? And he said, well, you know, kinda. And she said, what are those books you have there? And he said, well, you know, it's Krishna consciousness and Bhakti Yoga. And she said, oh my goodness, that's what I've been looking for. And she sat down and she said, can I see more? Can you tell me more about it? So he started talking to her, and she was becoming enlivened, and she bought 5 books and gave him a donation. And then Bhakta Mung, when it was time to go, 2 hours later, we had the van, and we said, Bhakta Mung, get in the van. And he was running around with this ecstatic look on his face, and he didn't want to get back in the van. And this was what happened to the very first book distributors. I met the person who distributed the very first book in the world, besides Srila Prabhupada. And that is, his name was Thakur Haridas. He lives in Montreal. And the devotees were going out distributing magazines, because it was a lot easier to get 25 cents for a magazine than it was to get $5, $10 for a big book, a big, huge Krishna book. No one knew how to do it. There was no training, there was no manual, no one had done it before. So they all went out, and they were doing magazines, and this Thakur Haridas, he took 2 big books with him, and he went to somebody's house. They were going door to door. He knocked on the door, and when they opened, he said, please, you got to take this book, it'll change your life, it's the most incredible book, it'll open your heart. And he went on for 10 minutes, and finally he said, all right, we'll take it, how much is it? And they gave him $10 for the book, and he was stunned. It was the first time it had ever happened. So he went to the next house, and he did the same thing. It's incredible, it's amazing, you're not going to believe it, it's going to change your life. And he said, all right, how much is it? We'll take it. And they said, you will? Okay. And so he ran back to the van, and he met some of the devotees back, and he said, I sold 2. And they said, so what, sold 2? We sold 50, these magazines. And he said, no, 2 books. And they said, you sold 2 books, how'd you do it? And he told them, and then they all started running around. Look, it's incredible, it's amazing. Look at this, what's happening here? And then Mahatma Das, who was on that traveling Sankirtan party, he said, it was like gamblers who won big money for the first time. And then they were stuck on it. They wanted to win again. And he said they wouldn't go home. They were driving around, and they would think they're going home, and then they'd see some more people, and they'd get out of the van, and he said it became intoxicating, and later Prabhupada said, this is real intoxication, this kind of preaching. And that's what you get when you move out into the internal energy of the Lord. You take a risk. Move out of the so-called safe material energy, which is actually like moving into a house with a bad guardian. It's like a kid that runs away from home, and he runs away from his parents, and then he moves in with an abusive guardian who just abuses him. Kamadinam katina katida palita durnideshas. This is the bad masters of the material world that I've put myself under the shelter of. But if we put ourselves under the shelter of Krishna by following his directive to go out and preach, give it to other people, then we'll be under the internal energy, we'll feel it, and we'll know for ourselves, we'll have direct experience of this. So there are many, many ways to distribute books, but the main point is experience the internal energy. Do this activity whatever way you can. It doesn't have to be recorded, it doesn't have to be huge, it doesn't have to be anything, but do it for yourself, do it for your own spiritual life, and you'll experience that you get superior strength and knowledge in Krishna consciousness, when you just try to do this. Young people can do it, 5-year-olds can do it. I took a group of 5-year-olds out with me door to door to show them how to distribute books. And do you know they're fantastic book distributors? 5-year-olds. Very difficult to keep them all. And then I said, one house we went to, the lady came out of the door. She said, I'm a born-again Christian. Do you have any born-again Christians in this country?
Yeah.
Did you ever meet any of them? Did they take a book?
No.
Well, this lady took a book because she saw the 5 kids. She said, I'm born-again Christian, and the kids ran up to her and they were showing her the book, 5 of them at once, and they were going, yeah, here's Krishna here, look at Krishna here, and there's a cow. And then they're all surrounding her from every side. And the lady looks at me from over all the kids and she goes, okay, what do you want? This is and she bought the book. And it's enthusiasm that gets it done. It's not some technique. It's a feeling in your heart that this is the most wonderful thing. And when you go out with enthusiasm, people understand that. If your house is burning and you're in a neighborhood where no one speaks the language, can you convey the message to the neighbors that your house is burning down? Can you do that? Are you sure? How would you do it? Who said yes? Okay, look back here, she'll show us. Go ahead, Sarah. That's right. You do whatever you have to do, right? Buddhimata used to get on his knees. Back in the 1970s, he would approach businessmen, he'd hand them a book and he'd get on his knees, please take this book, and they would say, please get up, we'll take the book. Lord Nityananda would roll on the floor, he would beg people, please chant the name Gauranga. So it comes from the heart. It's a matter of enthusiasm, utsahan, that moves this energy from one person to the next. They see it in your eyes, they feel it in your presence when you go out to distribute books. First, I'll show you in this PowerPoint presentation tonight that we're having this monthly Sankirtan festival of 1,008 devotees. This is going on right now. There's a few days left in this program, and I want to invite every single one of you tonight to participate in this, because it's an historic event. Do we have laptops available? Anybody bring their laptop?
Yeah, we have a few dotted around the place. Is that one behind you?
Are you online here?
Yes.
Is it wireless in it? Okay. So, after this presentation, we're going to have some laptops available outside, and you can register for this program for 5 days left. It's really easy, and I'll show you how it works. Here's how it goes. Krishna came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago. He taught everyone to chant Hare Krishna, and he asked us to teach others. Very specifically, he actually said, Ramate umate hoila manasa janma yar. Janma sartakari para upakar. He said, do para upakar, do good for others. And he asked everyone from Bharat, specifically, to help out in this. But everyone in the world was given the order, go spread this Krishna consciousness movement. It's a very simple thing. Chant Hare Krishna and teach others how to do it. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda opened a marketplace. It's a marketplace to distribute the holy name far and wide so that everyone in the world could take advantage of this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur realized in his life that the greatest teaching of all time came from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it had been lost over time because this material world has a tendency to obstruct all kinds of knowledge, and it had become interrupted. Bhaktivinoda Thakur rediscovered the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everyone still with me?
Yeah. Just maybe make a little bit more space for people, because there will be people coming in.
Everyone move up by, or move over by 5.2 inches.
As much space as you can.
So who can say where we were?
What
about Bhaktivinoda Thakur?
Nama, establishing a Nama Hut.
Nama Hut means marketplace of the holy name. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur revived that marketplace. He found that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission was the most clear, powerful message of Godhead, meant for everyone in the world. It's a universal message. And he wanted to establish this marketplace, re-establish it so that everyone could take part in the Sankirtan movement and get Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. So he actually did it. He opened up these Nam huts all over India where people were taking the holy name and passing it on to others, and he wrote extensively about the marketplace and how it worked. And there were merchants, there were all kinds of payment that you could give for the holy name, specifically Shraddha, your faith. And there were different kinds of brokers in the marketplace of the holy name. Do you know what position that Bhaktivinoda Thakur took in the marketplace of the holy name? With all the different hierarchy, what position did he take?
He was a broker.
He was the sweeper.
The sweeper.
He was the sweeper in the marketplace. He took the most humble position, that he would come sweep the marketplace for all the great souls. This is the position of our acharyas. This distribution of Krishna consciousness is such a high service that the great acharya, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in the marketplace of the holy name, he considers himself the sweeper in the marketplace of the holy name. What an exalted activity. This vibration coming from the spiritual world passed down through these great acharyas who are giving the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and showing by the example of their life. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was a ray of Vishnu prayed for by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He appeared and he made that marketplace sing. It went all over India in the Gaudiya Math, which was a very highly organized, very powerful organization that brought Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message to every single part of India and engaged thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in chanting Hare Krishna and studying the Vaishnava Shastras. He also sent some devotees off to England, and at the time they were not successful. Some devotees went to Burma. And then, as we know, Srila Prabhupada blew that marketplace wide open. Wide open, all over the world. He brought the same message that bring this chanting of Hare Krishna to every town and village. And Srila Prabhupada came across the ocean with no facility, with nobody to meet him at the docks, and no money, but he brought his books. The books, these divine deities that open one's eyes and heart to the spiritual world. And he spread it everywhere, all over the world. And he asked us, kindly help me. This is my request. Kindly help me. When a great soul asked us for some service, Shu Shu Sho Shradadhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Seveha Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevana. When you do service for a Mahatma, the greatest service is done. In fact, in the Chaitanya Bhagavata it is said that those who are devotees of Lord Vishnu, for them there is some question about whether they'll go home back to Godhead. But when one is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, there's no question. He'll go back to Godhead. So when we serve the great souls, we gain an affinity for hearing about Krishna, and it opens the pathway back home, back to Godhead. So this is a golden opportunity for everyone, and it's open. Believe it or not, Prabhupada said, kindly help me, this is my request. The request and the opportunity is still wide open. Anyone can take it. In a small way, a big way, doesn't matter. Do it in a humble way, and you'll feel for yourself how you're connected to this parampara through doing this service of book distribution. What was his request? Print as many books in as many languages and distribute throughout the whole world. Do you know how many languages we have these books in now? Do you know? I don't know either.
40 or 50 languages.
How many?
40 or 50 languages.
40 or 50 languages. Can you name some that they're in?
Spanish.
Spanish.
French.
French.
Arabic.
Arabic.
Hindi.
Swahili. How about Zulu?
Yeah.
Got any Zulus in here? No Zulus? Okay, we do have in Zulu though.
Hebrew.
Anything else? Hebrew. What else?
Telugu. Hindi. Gujarati.
Marathi. You're covering all the Indian language. We'll be here all night. Then we got Asian language, Korean, Vietnamese, Japanese. Oh, we got a shipment of Vietnamese books. I went to Vietnam a year and a half ago. We went and with some BBT directors, and we got permission to print the Bhagavad Gita. The government has to censor the book to make sure there's nothing that's going to take over the government. And once they put their stamp on it, then you can sell it. And they have that. They have perfect questions, perfect answers. And now Vietnamese books are flowing like anything. We ordered a pallet of Vietnamese books, and we're distributing them all over San Jose, California, because thousands, tens of thousands of Vietnamese people live there. And what do you think they say when they're all the way away from their country and they see a book in their own language? What do you think they say? They say, Hare Krishna. Where have you been all my life? They want that. So print as many books, as many languages, and distribute out around the whole world. That is our family business. We do so many other things, but this is our family business. We print books. That's what the acharyas do. They make knowledge available to the society, and they give it out of mercy so that people can take it. And that's what our acharyas have very specifically done. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur included the printing press on his logo for the Gaudiya Math. He was so fixed on this book distribution, the literature distribution, how it affects society. Does it affect society distributing books, or is it a waste of time? No, it's not a waste of time. The American Revolution took place by the distribution of pamphlets to half the population. It sparked the revolution. People read it and they said, yes, this is it. It's foundational when you write something down. The Constitution of the United States of America is written on a piece of paper and signed. And for that, the whole country has stood for the last 200 plus years. Writing something down is powerful. When somebody writes down something in the spiritual world and then passes it down to here, Tadvad visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam vadyapi. It causes a revolution. That's what we want. We're fomenting a revolution out of this very tiny little room here. Not too loud. We want a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization, and from books that come from beyond this world. That's what the verse says. Tadvad visargo. It's from a different creation, not from this world. What kind of revolution does that cause? One soul who goes back to Godhead, that's the biggest news in the whole universe. Everything else is boring and a complete waste of time. Everyone's going on, doing their business here in the material world, and Mahavishnu is breathing in and out, asleep, because it's so boring. Because no one cares. That's why he's bored. Look at Lord Jagannath. His eyes are wide open because he's in Vrindavan and he's seeing all the wake. Vrindavan never sleeps because Krishna is excited to be there. The devotees care about him. They're thinking about him. In the material world, everyone's ignoring Krishna. So it's asleep, this world. And these books wake people up. Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago. This is service. This is the highest kind of service that one can perform, is to give others a chance to wake up and go back to Godhead. Here's one way that you can participate. Now this is, I'm very happy to be here with you tonight because there's a few days left to be in on this historic event, and I'll show you what it is. Here's some steps. You can join our monthly Sankirtan Festival. It's an international event. Already 1,290 people have signed up for this, have registered over just the last couple of weeks. It's sweeping the world. Bill, you see this yellow band on my wrist? This marks this event. There are thousands of them around the world. I looked on Mayapur TV the other day. Everyone in the Moscow temple was wearing them. They're wearing them all over New York, all over China, all over India. This marks this great festival, which is meant to distribute books. And it's not that you have to do very much. All you have to do is join and distribute at least one book. One book, that's it. And then if you want to make this expand, you can get a few other people involved by building a team and then report your score. And here's how it works. You have to network. You know how to network, right? Get on your phone, get on your email. There's all kinds of ways that you can reach out to people. Anybody here know 3 people besides yourself? You're laughing, so I guess that's a yes. So that means you can participate in this. You can build a team by networking. Invite your friends, your family, your associates, your pets. Can you really invite your pets to this event? Am I crazy or what? What do you think? Let's see. Okay, here are the levels. Now, some people think that Amway invented this way of marketing, but it didn't. Bhaktivinoda Thakur did. He came up with this system to multi-level market, to network market the holy name of the Lord, to spread it all over the world by a lot of people, each doing a little bit. And here's the different levels that you can achieve. Merchant means you register on the website, which is called seventhgoswami.com. We'll have it available for you in a few minutes. Distribute at least one book. And I already did my book tonight because the cell phone went out. This great soul here in the front row. I feel very privileged. And then report the distribution of at least one book. This is important. You have to report it. Once you do it, go back in and report it. It'll take you 5 seconds. Team builder, that's the next level. When you distribute one book, you can get 3 other people involved who each register, do at least one book, and then report their score on the website. You move up to team builder. If those 3 people do the same thing, you become a master team builder. And then what you actually have is a network of people anywhere in the world. We have it set up with all the BBTs in the world. You can get books anywhere at any time. We're open 24 hours a day. This is a full service operation. And once you do this, you have a team in place where you can move books at any time through your team, anywhere in the world. There are no more geographical boundaries in the world, are there? There are no more. These boundaries that we make artificially are artificial. Through the internet, through phones, through all the modern means of technology, we should be able to create a revolution that spreads books all over the world in every single language, shouldn't we? Couldn't we do it just within a few days or within a few months? Couldn't we do millions of books? Is that impossible?
Yes.
It's not impossible. Here's the levels: merchant, team builder, master builder. And here's a schematic, what it looks like. You distribute at least one book, recruit 3, those people each do 3. It's 3, get 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 3. How many is that? 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. How much? If you get it right, we'll give you a Shri Shapanasha. 81 notes, 29,000. 3 times 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 3. Get a calculator out, you'll see. Anyway, the power of 3 is immense. Just by a few people, each getting a few people, each getting a few people, and everyone just doing one book, we can move mass numbers of books all over the world. Anyone can participate. Here's Japan. Here's a woman who happened to sit next to Mayapur Bihari when he was catching a flight to San Diego just a few days ago. He jumped on the plane and he was equipped with books, pulled one out of his bag and gave it to the person sitting next to him on the plane, and then took her picture with the iPhone and sent it to me. And there it is. These books are flying through the air. She spent the whole flight, 1 hour and 20 minutes, reading these books. It's a little packet, you see, it's like 4 books inside a little packet that he gave her. Kids love book distribution. We have about 35 children that go out regularly with their parents, and they do huge. And they love going on book distribution. It's fun for the whole family. And now I promised you, there you go. Do they look familiar? Do you know who these dogs are? Yes, these dogs are 2 of our best book distributors. You'll notice Flickr has a little book pack, a special backpack fitted for these books. And over here is Yogi. Yogi and Flickr. When they go around, people say, "Oh, what a cute dog, and what are those books, by the way?" And they buy books, and yes, we do include them in the team. They are listed, so you can list your pets. Join. Go to the website, seventhgoswami.com, and you can sign up right on this website. It's a website chock full of all kinds of information that teaches you how to distribute books, how to get books, how to talk to other people. The information's flowing in daily. We have a whole team of experts working on this 24 hours a day to bring it up to date, to bring all your comments to the fore in the middle of the website. And there's a register button. That's what I want you to look for tonight when you walk out into the hallway. Just hit that register button, and once you do, you'll get a little registration form here, and put a login name, whichever name you like, put a password and reconfirm it. Everyone's used to this, right? Put your name, and email address, and we just sold one more Ishopanishad. Who was it? Who just got another Ishopanishad?
He's not old enough to.
What's that? Okay, hand him Ishopanishad. Give him a hand back there. For those of you who don't know, tonight, when your phone goes off or a text message noise, any kind of noise, no?
There's no differentiation between the phone call and the text.
No, no difference.
Phone call, text message, anything, you're the lucky one tonight, you get a Ishopanishad. It's only 5 pounds. And so we urge you, please keep your phones on tonight, because we're going to move this whole stack of books. Thank you very much. So here's where you register. It takes about 30 seconds altogether. And then you just put register right here. And then what that does for you, it gets you in the system, and then you just have to distribute one book. Anywhere you like, you can send it out. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent books out of India. Where did he send them? Do you know where he sent them?
Burma.
McGill University in Canada, Montreal. That book that Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent out in 1891 is still there in Canada. Yes, he sent books to Thoreau, Emerson. And I was thinking about what endeavor he must have had, because it's the Indian Postal Service. And it was 1891. I mean, really, what must have been the system to actually send the book out of the country? It was on a ship, you know, and have to register it and the whole thing. But he thought about it and he sent those books out. So you can do that too. There's many ways that you can distribute one book, right? Now, when you sign up, when you register, you get your own dashboard. This is your own dashboard to build your own network around the world. And you get your own unique URL. You see down here? This will be your own unique URL, and you can use that URL to send, you can send that out to other people. You can do it through Facebook, or you can do it right from this dashboard here. And when anybody else joins your network, then they're always connected to you in your team. And you can grow your team as big as you like. It doesn't have to be 3, it can be 300, 3,000. Nothing can hold you back. There's billions of people in China. Why don't you sign them all up? We have Chinese books. What's to stop you? And no one can stop you from doing it from your computer, right? So look at this. You type in the email address of the person you want to invite right here, and then you can put your own message, but they'll also get a welcome message from the team, from the Seventh Goswami team, inviting them to join and to move ahead. And you can put as many emails as you like in here. Put your whole address book in there, whatever way you like. Then, report your score. Now it's very important because we only have 5 days left. And everyone who registers, you have to report your score. Just put in one book. So for tonight, when you register, I'm going to ask you to take one book out of the, we'll have enough books out there so everyone can take one book, and then just put down that you distributed one book. And then in the next 24 hours, 48 hours, give that book to somebody. Distribute it somewhere. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay? I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
I think you want to go home now. Okay. Look at this. Here's where you report your score. There's a little place where you can scroll down and it'll list all the books that are available from the BBT, and you just choose the quantity and you can put it in there. And as your team distributes books, you'll start to see your team score show up right across the top. How many people are growing in your network? How many books are distributed in your network? And if you want to invite more friends at any time, just hit that button and start inviting people. Also, there's a place to report your story. When something interesting happens or you have something to report, just put it in here and send it out. It'll go to our blog right on the website. 4 easy steps. Join. Distribute one book at least. Build a team. Invite a few friends, families, or pets. And report your score. And that's all it is. It's easy. Isn't that easy? It's easy, right? Anybody can do that. Need help? Look, we have a place for help any time of the day or night. 24 hours a day, this show is working to answer your questions and assist you in any way that you like. Just you can ask a question right in here. This is the admin number, and they'll help you out in any way you like. Whatever you need, they're there to help you. So, well, let me show you a picture. There's the crew waiting to serve you. They're standing by. Let's give them a hand. Come on. reflections? Anything you've heard so far that's stuck in your mind that you're taking out of here? In your pocket. What did you hear that you're taking out?
Register.
Register. Let's give him a big hand. What is your name? Deen Bandhu Prabhu. This is Deen Bandhu Prabhu. He said register. I love this devotee. Deen Bandhu. That's a good name for you. Yes?
Prabhuji, you mentioned that books are distributed in all languages.
Yes.
But normally we have access to only English books.
Okay, so he said that books, we distribute books in all languages, but mostly we have access to just books in one language.
Yes. And how do we then get hold of, because we come across people in all different languages?
Well, there's books available from the BBTs all over the world. If you want French books, you can talk to the French BBT. If you want Chinese books, you can get them from Hong Kong. They're all available. And if you want them, you can get them. You can get anything in this world, can't you? You just go on the internet, push a button and say, I want this, and won't it be at your door the next day? Pretty much, right? So these books you can ship from anywhere. You can get them. And I do recommend you fill out your inventory so that if you have a predominance of ethnic kind of people in your area that speak a certain language, to cater to them. It's really exciting. We collect books in Farsi. We collect books in Korean, Vietnamese, all the different Indian languages. Spanish, we get a wide variety from Spain. So they're available. Just a little shipping, that's all. Worth having. What else stuck in your mind? A reflection means you heard one thing that stuck, and it's a point. If you walked out of here right now and someone says, what was this about? You'll say?
Always go out with the books.
Always go out with the books. Don't leave without a book. Thank you very much. Nice reflection. What is your name? Radha Mohan Prabhu. How do you go? Your name? Vijendra. Nice to meet you. Hare Krishna. One more reflection, yes.
Distribute one.
Take a risk.
Take a risk.
Hare
Yes, very nice. And your name?
Vijendra Lal.
Vijendra Lal. Vijendra Nandan, Vijendra Lal. Beautiful. Real pleasure. Thank you. Take a risk. Was somebody else speaking up too?
Distribute one book.
Distribute at least one book. Register and distribute at least one book. And report your score. Yeah, got to do it quick because there's only a few days left. And it's really rolling now all over the world, so get in there and do it. Okay, now I'm going to show you, so our time's a little limited tonight. Usually we have a whole Saturday afternoon, we can sit and talk and stand up and learn how to distribute books and go out together and then have prasadam and have kirtan and do it all again the next day. But here we just have a couple hours. Actually, so I'm going to go through, I'm going to show you this next presentation, if you're all still up for it. Unless you'd like to stop now. You want to stop now?
No.
Okay, keep going. Alright, so this is called the Sankirtan Certification Course. And this will give you a few ideas about how to distribute books and ways that you can develop your Sankirtan party here in Manchester and become a force to be reckoned with here in the UK.
Yeah.
Who said yeah? Yes. Okay. Here it is. We have a legacy. It's a gift that's being passed down to us from the spiritual world. Unparalleled gift. And when we pass that gift on to others, when we recognize what that gift is and we give it to others, Krishna recognizes us. These are Krishna's words. He said, there's no servant in this world more dear to me than the person who is giving this gift to others. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked dancing through the streets of Miami, Florida. He wanted this to go out to every town and village in the world, and this is his mission. It's a mission, it's a movement, and a movement means somebody's got to move. If one individual moves, it changes everything. A lot of people almost do something. A lot of people talk about how everyone else should do something. Do you ever notice that? People say, you know what? The president should be more, conscientious, and he should really go out and book distribution. And it's like, well, why don't you just go out? So people almost do something, they just about did something, thought about doing something. But when somebody actually does something, even if it's a tiny thing, it changes the world. It changes everyone around them because they see that someone actually took a risk and they went out and did it, right? So this is a mission. A mission means you got to move. You got to be dynamic. The Thakur, this is the great Thakur Bhakti Vinod, like a power station of bhakti, is pumping down this bhakti down through this line of disciplic succession. And he talked about how a personality would soon appear in order to preach the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. He prayed for a ray of Vishnu, and his son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, appeared in this world. And if any of you have not read the book, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav by Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, it's an extensive study of the life of this great Acharya. I recommend that you run, don't walk. Get that book and read it, because it will give you vision in the kind of great Acharyas that we're following, and what their integrity and what their high state of consciousness is. And these are the great souls that we're serving. And what did Srila Bhaktisiddhanta tell Srila Prabhupada? He said, if you ever get money, open a gas station. No. He said, if you ever get money, that's what he said. So this is the Guru's instruction. If you take the Guru's instructions, Yasya Devi Parabhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru Tasyaite Katita Hirta Prakashanti Mahatmana. That's how you advance in devotional service. All the Vedic import, all the knowledge becomes available to those who follow the instruction of the Guru. Srila Prabhupada is the ambassador of goodwill. He came not to make money, not to find some happiness in this world, but as an ambassador of goodwill from the spiritual world. And look at this pamphlet that he made to distribute his books. That's what he was thinking, how to fulfill the order of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Prabhupada didn't have any money, but he put some together somehow or other, and he brought his books. He had 3 volumes, and this pamphlet, at the time Prabhupada had 3 volumes of books. This pamphlet says 60 volumes of elaborate English version by Trinandi Goswami, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, and all over the world for scientific knowledge of God. He just arrived with no money, no means, no connections, and he's talking about all over the world. That's the Sankirtan spirit. You think in terms of catch the wave of Lord Chaitanya's mercy and spread it all over the world. Think big. Why not? Anybody can change. One person can change the world if they're determined. If they have this feeling in their heart, they'll do or die. I read a book, a manual about war fighting. It was from the United States Marine Corps, written by a general, about the strategy of war, about the philosophy behind war. And in the book he points out, it's not bigger armies that win wars. It's not better equipped armies with bigger bombs that win wars. It's not fires that make the war conclusive. It's the heart of the leader. Because over and over again we see tiny little armies with barely any munitions. They drive the big army away. Why? Because it's what's in the core of your heart that matters. It's if you're determined. If you say, I'll do or I'll die, nobody can stop you. It's unstoppable, that feeling within the heart, and that's what Srila Prabhupada brought. It's not some institution or formula, it's this spontaneous desire in your heart to please Krishna, who has given this instruction to preach Krishna consciousness to others all over the world. And if you have that, if you overcome your fears and you rise above and you take the risk to do this, and you think in a big way to please Krishna, then Krishna will back you all the way. And look at the life of Srila Prabhupada, the great Acharya, our founder Acharya, who we're so proud to sit at his lotus feet, what he did.
Yay.
And we can follow him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
By printing books, Prabhupada had a plan. He wanted the foundational part of our movement built on books. The literature, by reading them, by distributing them. And it's the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust that built the temples in Mayapur and in Vrindavan and in Bombay, the money that came from distributing books all over the world. And he asked us to vigorously try for book distribution. Now, I said this before and I'll say it again, this is a rapid way to make advancement in Krishna consciousness. If you simply try to do this activity, Prabhupada said, simply by this attempt, just by the attempt, doesn't mean you have to be successful. if you sincerely try, if you sincerely make the attempt, you will get superior strength and knowledge about Krishna consciousness. Here's the mood for distributing books. We are Krishna's instruments. Anybody can be an instrument. You don't have to be smart, you don't have to be clever. If you're an instrument and you go out on behalf of Krishna and let Him work through you, you can do anything. Remain humble and hungry. That is, keep a mood that I can't do anything. Look at Prabhupada's mood when he came into America and he wrote a poem on the ship, Jaladuta, just as he was approaching America, and he said, Krishna, I don't know why you've brought me here. I don't know how to do this, but if you want, you can make them dance, you can make them understand. Now please just use me as your instrument. And he very humbly cried out for the Lord's help. We should go out to distribute books for our own self-purification. Service for service. Save one soul at a time, beginning with myself. Here's a nice picture. Look at this enthusiasm here. This is a Rath Yatra in Montreal. You can see in the reflection of the window, there's the Rath Yatra canopy there, right? And see, we were going down the street with a bunch of devotees, and we saw this man. That's a second-story window. And he was dancing and waving. He was so ecstatic seeing the Harinam Sankirtan and the Jagannath cart going by. This brahmachari climbed up on an air conditioning duct. And he sold the book through the second-story window. He just took the donation right there, and the man's giving him a thumbs up. He's giving him a thumbs up. So I just happened to snap that picture as Damodar climbed up there to the second-story window. Take a risk, right? Yeah. Our prime directive when we go out to distribute books, what is it? Leave everyone with a good impression. Everyone please say what our prime directive is.
Leave everyone with a good impression.
What is our prime directive?
Leave everyone with a good impression.
Our prime directive is to sell lots of books, right?
No.
Wrong. Our prime directive is?
Leave everyone with a good impression.
Our prime directive is to make a lot of money, right?
No.
Our prime directive is?
Leave everyone with a good impression.
That's correct. And if you go out with this mood, or go in with this mood, if you're in your family, in your business, wherever you are, and your intention for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year is to leave everyone you meet with a good impression, what will your countenance look like? What would your mood be? What are the words that you're going to speak?
Sweet.
Sweet. Considerate. And this is our prime directive. You see the smile. This is Bhakti George. When you go out with that mood, you're leaving everyone with a good impression. You'll be in ecstasy all day long. You'll feel happiness in your heart. And this is what Krishna says, one who treats everyone as a kind friend is very dear to me. One who treats everyone as a kind friend. That's Sankirtan. Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Okay. We know what the prime directive is, right?
Leave everyone with a good impression.
I'm not convinced.
Leave everyone with a good impression.
So if you come out of this seminar today and you're walking down the street, someone walks up to you and says, what was the prime directive for this whole book distribution thing? What would you say?
Leave everyone with a good impression.
Thank you very much. Leave everyone with a good impression. Treat people with respect. Offer kind words. Don't focus on your personal scores or results. Develop the habit of expressing sincere gratitude and thanks to people you meet, live with, or associate with. Sankirtan's a way of life. It's not about going out, it's about going in, actually. If you live with your family in such a way that you're always expressing gratitude to your spouse, to your kids, and appreciating what you have right now, no matter where you are, you're living in this transcendental consciousness. And when you express that to other people, it overflows in your life. And when you go out and you meet people anywhere else, and you give them an opportunity to enter into Krishna consciousness, and you do it in this way, you'll always feel transcendental ecstasy. Remember, preaching means
Giving.
Don't be condescending. Because you don't know who you're talking to. people we meet everywhere, they could be great souls, for all we know. We should think like that. Trinadapi sunichena, torodapi sihishtuna, amanina, manadena, kirtaniya sada. Should we be ready to offer all respects to others without expecting anything in return? But that just means within the walls of the temple, right?
No.
It doesn't mean outside. We shouldn't offer respect to other people because they don't know about Krishna consciousness, so we shouldn't respect them, right?
No.
Wrong, that's correct. We should never be condescending. Look at that Maharaj Rahugana. He thought that Jad Bharat was just a Shudra, and he chastised him. He thought, I'm the king, you're just my carrier of the palanquin. But it turned out he was a great Paramahamsa. So, express empathy for people. Feel their suffering. This is what a true yogi is, Krishna says in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Where does he say that? 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. What does Krishna say about the best kind of yogi? Atmapamyena sarvatra. He said, those who show empathy for others, and they appreciate their suffering or their happiness as their own. That's the best kind of yogi. Practice reflective listening. People don't listen very much nowadays. Everyone's always waiting to talk. Notice it sometime when you're talking to somebody, I'll be listening barely, but I'm waiting to just jump in and say what I have to say. But when you practice this reflective listening, you're actually carefully listening to what people say and then reflect back to them what they just said. People feel special. And this is the heart of it. Make people feel special because they are. People are spirit souls. And spirit soul is the most amazing thing in this world. There's nothing more interesting than the soul. Ascharyavat pashyati kascharenam ascharyavat vadati tataiva chanya. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the soul is amazing. Some see him as amazing, some hear of him as amazing, and others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. The soul is the most amazing. Make people feel special. Do you know how to do that? Do you know how to make people feel special? Yes or no? All right, let's practice then. You didn't raise your hand fast enough. Okay, let's try it. I want you to close your eyes for a minute. Everyone close your eyes. Now I want you to imagine that everyone in this room has a sign hanging around their neck. In fact, I want you to expand it to the whole city. Everyone in the whole city and everyone in this room has a sign hanging around their neck that says, "Make me feel special." Do you have that in your mind's eye? And that's what people want. That's actually what everyone wants.